If you really want to get better at golf, lower your score, hit it better, have more fun, the information in this video is 100% going to help you, and we're going to explain why. We're going to start off using this situation to do a little demonstration. I'm going to take a setup to this first golf ball here. This would be my normal setup for a little chip or a pitch onto the green. I'm going to very simply try and hit a ball onto that green, somewhere near that flag, and then without moving my feet, I'm going to hit this golf ball, this one, this one, this one, and this one. I'm going to explain why I'm doing that in a moment. So let's have a go with this first one. So can I get it somewhere on that green? Okay, it should break a little bit to the right. Now I'm going to move to this one. Then I'm going to move to this one. Then I'm going to move to this one. It's definitely getting a little, is that one gone in? Oh no. Definitely getting a little bit more difficult, but actually not a bad result. Really starting to reach out for the ball now. And then the last one, wow, this feels super strange, but not bad. So all different results, but actually if the goal was, can I chip a ball onto the green, I had success with all of those. But what did you see with my technique? Well, hopefully my technique was okay, a little bit weird, a little bit strange, a little bit strange, a little bit strange. Starting to get to the point where you're looking at my setup and thinking that's a terrible technique. So if I've got a terrible technique, how was I still able to chip those balls onto the green? So every single shot you hit, everything from drive to a putt, is a combination of your technique, how good is that, and your skill level. Now, as the technique gets slightly worse, we have to rely a lot more on the skill. So because I'm relatively high skilled and I've done this for years, as my technique was getting worse and worse and worse and worse, my skill, my hand-eye coordination was having to kick in. Now, as you can imagine, that last one from over here, I was not thinking technically, I was not thinking what I needed to do with the club. I was literally just thinking, I've got to get club on ball and make it go over there. I'm really tapping into my natural instincts as a golfer. Now, if I was to play golf from here and hit all my chip shots, I'm never going to have as much success, but I can still perform the task. So when we look at the best golfers in the world, let's look at Tiger Woods, for example. Why was Tiger the best? Well, arguably he had the greatest technique we've ever seen, and he was the highest skilled golfer we've ever seen. That's a pretty strong combination. So what happens when we don't work on skill? What happens when we think that technique is everything? We go to the range, we dial in technique, 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 technique. We ignore the skill element of it. Well, what happens is we practice and practice and practice, but we become unstuck when the ball is below our feet, when the ball is above our feet. And what happens when we potentially on one shot happen to stand 2 inches further away from the golf ball than we ideally want? Well, we catch it off the toe and it scoots out to the right because we weren't able to adapt. The technique let us down and the skill wasn't enough to counter that. So if you really want to get better at golf, yes, technique, absolutely. I do loads of videos on technique. But in this video, we're going to be giving you some games and some exercises that you can do in practice to massively develop your technique. And trust me, when you get on the golf course, you're faced with wind and slopes and different types of grass and different lies. Your technique isn't enough. You have to be working on skill. So let's start off with the first game, which is actually around short game. So that first little demonstration we did there where I was hitting balls further away from me, you can do that, absolutely, and I'd encourage you to do that. You don't have to go quite to that extreme, but that's a really good exercise to do. But the other short game one, which is really good, is what you can see I've got set up here. I'm basically going to take my 52-degree club, I'm just going to pitch a ball onto the green. Now I would set up, if I was hitting a basic shot, to this ball here. Notice how the alignment stick is in the middle of my heels, which means that's where the ball is, and from here, I'm probably aiming a little bit too straight here, so it's going to finish right to the flag, but that's where I would hit my little pitch onto the green from, and then obviously the slope takes down there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the alignment stick in the middle of my heels, I'm going to shuffle back and try and hit this one. So now the ball is obviously further forward in my stance. But using my skill, I'm able to land the club in a different place, you know, a few inches further forward. Shuffle back, and now the ball is much, much further forward in my stance. But again, even though the technique is different, my skill is kicking in. Then I shuffle forward, this ball is now further back in my stance. Not as good a shot, but strike was okay. And then the last one, ball is further back. Now the interaction with the ground is changing. That one felt a little bit steeper, these didn't. But I'm landing the club in different places relative to me, but it's always in the same place relative to the ball. And that's the key, because you think of short game, long term, what do you want to do? You want to be able to hit some lower shots off the back foot and then some higher shots off the front foot, and ball might be sitting down, the ball might be sitting up. You have to have the control where you can get the club to land wherever you want it to land. It's not in the same place always relative to you, but it is always in the same place relative to the ball. So that is a great little exercise, and the goal there is contact. It doesn't really matter what the results are like, and clearly I was aiming too far right, but if you can get the solid contact, that's key, and that is brilliant for developing skill. So now we're really going to develop your strike, and we're going to do that by controlling the height of the arc. We swing the club around the body on this big circle. Where is that circle relative to the ground? Well, think about it logically. With a driver, that circle is always slightly above the ground. With an iron, that circle has to go into the ground. With a 3-wood, it pretty much has to rest on the ground. And then you think about getting out onto the golf course. What are you going to be faced with? You're going to be faced with ball above your feet, ball below your feet. So we constantly, through a round of golf, have to be changing the arc relative to the ground. This is how we do it. Notice I've got 3 golf balls teed up. I've got an 8-iron in my hand. The first ball, pretty much how I would tee an 8-iron, a little higher, and then obviously pretty close to what I would do driver. The goal is simple. Can we find the center of the golf club by adjusting the height of the arc relative to the ground? Now, I've got a green out there, I've got a flag. I'm not really too concerned with the result here. I'm more looking at contact. Now, this first one, with any luck, should be the easiest of the 3, and we might be able to get this one actually onto the green. Well, I don't think I've hit that hard enough, so I think that's going to be in the water, but it's a pretty good strike in the water. But that's fine, struck it well. So this next one, take a setup, and then can I raise the arc up a little bit and still make good contact? Well, that was pretty much great contact. Hit that one a little harder. It's on the green. So the fact that the ball was way too high from the ground didn't affect my result, because I'm using my skill, my natural ability to get the club to collide with the ball. That's how we play golf. And then this last one, yeah, this one is super hard, but let's see if I can make the desired adjustment and hit it. And I didn't middle that, so that is going to be in the water. That was off the top edge of the club, so I didn't quite adjust well enough. So this is something that I would continue to do. The more I can develop my skill, the more I can use my hand-eye coordination to adjust to what I see, the better I'm going to be on the golf course when I'm faced with those awkward situations, or when I have to hit driver, arcs above the ground, and then I have to walk and pull out an 8-iron and get my arc to go underground, and then maybe hit a pitch shot where my arc is on the ground. I'm constantly having to adjust where my club is relative to the ground if I want to play good golf. This is a brilliant exercise, and it's pretty good fun as well to do. So now we're looking at face control, controlling where that club points at impact. Obviously a hugely important skill. If you can control the face, you can control the curve, and you can hit more fairways. I've got 3 balls teed up. I'm going to pick myself a target. So I'm on a hole, so I'm actually going to pick the flag in the distance. If you're doing this in practice, you'd pick something on the driving range. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take a standard setup. I'm going to make what I feel is a pretty standard backswing, a pretty standard downswing, but I'm going to leave the face open. This ball should start a bit right and then drift further right. The next shot, I'm going to deliver the club face slightly closed. Ball should start slightly left and curve further left. The last one, I'm going to try and find that happy medium where I deliver the club face fairly neutral and it flies pretty straight. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll see how we get on. So I'm effectively trying to make one golf swing and deliver 3 different club faces at impact. Started right, drifted a bit right, mission accomplished. Right, this one, same swing, but can I close the face? Ah, that one has actually gone down the middle. So good if I was playing golf, but not quite what I needed to do. And then this last one, I'm going to try and deliver, again, a fairly neutral club face. Not bad, fractionally right of target. It's in the fairway, but a little bit right. So as you can see there, I probably failed if I was looking at that as a whole exercise. But that's the idea, we're looking to fail. I'm not the highest skilled golfer, that's why I'm not on the PGA Tour or the DP World Tour. I need to work on my skill and you need to work on your skill. But for me, this is so important. I did this as a junior, but I didn't know what I was doing. I just used to go to the driving range with my friends and mess around. You know, you would see who could hit the biggest slice with the driver, who could hit the biggest hook with a 7-iron, who could hit a wedge off the driver tee. We were having fun and experimenting, but looking back, we were using that time and we were developing skill.